Hey my friend, welcome to Lions Mane Media. I'm Jonah. Today I wanted to talk to you about a secret that I feel the majority of today's culture either doesn't acknowledge or even ends up completely ignoring. Of course, it's not really a secret because it's almost ingrained into our vocabulary at large. But my marketing training says make sure the title is interesting, so secret it is. Anyway, it's actually a really simple concept, and there have been many ways to describe it throughout the years, whether it be sowing and reaping, karma, the law of the farm, and on it goes. What it boils down to is that we will get a harvest of whatever seeds we are planting and that we are tending to. Yet, for the most part, it often feels like our culture focuses on getting that harvest first, whether it be that amazing job with the right paycheck, the perfect relationship, and our dream body, without much care of the process of the actual planting or the time it takes to tend something like that. But again, this concept transcends culture in a way, being more of a law like gravity. It takes a lot of force to overcome it, even temporarily. And without that force, just like gravity, what's been sown can be what brings that fall in the end. Still, some people want the shortcuts or those instant solutions to all their problems, or even just their perceived problems. The unfortunate truth of shortcuts is that there may be an unforeseen cost at the end that is far more pricey than what it would actually cost to do it right in the first place. Imagine for a moment being on a road trip. Yes, even with gas prices being what they are right now in June of 2022. And you see that there is a shortcut that is coming up that will shave maybe 15 minutes off your trip. So you take it, and it goes absolutely great. And now that you have a little bit of extra time, you start looking for that next shortcut and then the next one. And finally you find one that is kind of a mart, but would make a 2 hours difference reaching your destination compared to being on the highway, all by going down some back roads. And in fact, it goes great. Till the gas tank has run out in the middle of the woods, while the sun is setting, and now there's a rustling coming from the tree line. A bit of an extreme example, but that's often the kind of consequences that end up happening when we start looking for those microwave-style solutions. Then again, our culture doesn't really like to talk about consequences, unless they are for the people we dislike. Then we can talk about them all day, and even suggest why there should be more of them. And maybe that's the reason why more people don't acknowledge this principle. Because then they would have to admit that we are all responsible for our own lives. Which ends up making the blame game basically unplayable. It is so much easier to have someone to pass that metaphorical butt to, but it leaves us powerless in the end. Because if someone else is to blame for all our problems, then there really is nothing that can be done. Yet if we realize the part we may have played, or even that we actually have a choice on what we do next, we gain that power back. Again, it's not about being the easier or the Twitter road, but the best sides usually come from those harder trails. When we study how the brain works and actually commits things to memory, there's a process that really brings the planting and tending that we dove through to the forefront. What we think about, really focus on, creates connections in the brain, such that if we do it over a long period of time, it becomes easier and easier to think about. So if someone thinks about habits that don't really benefit them, but may bring about that temporary pleasure, they have a hard time quitting them if they ever actually want to make a change. Fortunately, the same is true about beneficial habits, although replacing one with another is still quite a bit of a process. Because just putting down a seed is usually not enough to get it to grow and sprout, unless it's like a weed, which is probably a good indicator of the kind of tropes that are easy to get from life. It would be like someone swiping right on someone and expecting that other person to suddenly devote their whole life to just making them happy. That's not how people really work, or at least most of us anyway. In the Proverbs, it talks about how he who has friends must show himself friendly. How many people have you seen talked about how lonely they are, or how they can't find someone? Which seems weird in the age of social media when it's out there like a pandemic. I mean, social media is supposed to be about being social. You should be able to find people. Yet, the cure is very simple. If you want friends, first be a friend. If you want love, first love. And this even makes an easy translation into the business world as well. For how long would a business actually survive if it stops providing the service, or even just the quality of service that customers first came to them for? And if we go a bit farther, how should a company expect loyalty from its employees if they are treated as disposable? And also, from another point of view, how should employees expect loyalty from a company if they don't actually provide anything beyond the bare minimum to what they're expected to do? And even then at great kind of urging, in a sense. Yet we see instances of those all the time. And another area this shows up in that I'm really passionate about is in storytelling. Well, at least the memorable stories, or the ones that we want to go through at least twice to see how it all came together, because a good story will generally plant the seeds for the climax long before it actually reaches that point. What I mean by this is that the conclusion flows naturally from the beginning. It may be that there's a pending disaster on the horizon, or a change in someone's life, and it's all to keep the interest of the audience. Or it could be that a character's motivation is what is actually giving them reason to be in the right place for the finale. It's like, how often does the self-interested person seem to show up at just the right time? But it made sense because the writer actually showed that there was another side to them, a heart of gold in a sense, that was there just beneath the surface. Of course, sometimes the audience and the storyteller disagree on what seeds have been planted, likely because the harvest each has already been reaping in their minds and hearts. I wanted to talk about this concept today because this seed and harvest is something I always go back to. So I figured it should be one of my first videos, just so you know what to expect. It made sense to me, even if it's completely backwards to the culture of today. I see it in the wisdom of the past, and also in my own life, for the good and the bad. 'Cause just as I've recently been reaping the good consequences of pursuing health and fitness, despite what these chicken wings may tell you, so I have been reaping the results of letting past hurts control my life choices. But with the acknowledgement of what has been harvested, comes the ability to choose to either keep planting the same crop or a different one. And in the end, we all make that choice whether we like it or not. I hope you got value out of today's episode. I'm not sure if this is more of a vlog or a podcast, but that will probably come in time, as with all improvements and changes as I grow and learn. So if you want to see more of this content, like and subscribe, and until I come up with a better line, talk to you later and have a great rest of your day.